Good morning, everybody. Shefa Brucha Vatzlucha. Froiliche Purim. Purim Sameach. We are now in Purim, and maybe we'll talk a little about the Megillah. Why do we dress up on Purim? Well, what's that? And I'm going to give the answer through a few episodes from the Megillah and a few other answers. For example, V'gam Charbona Zachor Latov. What's the meaning? What is, and also Harmona will remember you for the best, for the good. Okay, we all know the story of the Megillah. And there is a very strange halacha that says you're not allowed to read the Megillah למפרע. אסור לקרוא את המגילה למפרע. What is למפרע? You're not allowed to read the last chapter before the second or the third. You have to read the Megillah in order. And the question is, who would think to read the Megillah from the back to the beginning, from the end to the beginning? A normal person understand. I read the Megillah from the beginning to the end. So what's the idea behind it? And this brings us to the difference between the miracle of Purim and the miracle of Hanukkah. Hanukkah was a miracle of outside nature. The light that was supposed to light for one night suddenly was lit for 8 nights, 8 days and 8 nights. But here, if you think of the Megilat Esther, people don't realize. Do you know how many years the Megillah was happening? Do you know? I asked this question this week. Someone says a few months, a year, 2 years. If I remember right, it's around 10 years. More than 9 years this whole thing was happening. So think about it. There is this feast that the Hashverosh, the king, invites everybody. And then only years later, things are happening. And during this thing, the queen is being killed. There is a new queen. This is Esther. The story with those two people that were trying to poison the king, and Mordechai is telling the story. And then we have Haman coming into the picture. Then Haman is being the top guy, and he wants to kill the Jews. This is normal history, if you look at it. And this is exactly the point, that we have to understand that this is a big miracle. For example, it says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Magdim Trufa Lemaka. The Kadosh Baruch Hu brings the medicine before the illness. So first of all, we are being told about Esther becoming the queen. And only later on, we are talking about Haman and what he wanted to do. It's very interesting to see. By the way, this is the same thing in our Parsha. Is first of all was Kitisa, raise up the heads of Am Israel, and only later on we learn about the sin of the golden calf. But that's not the right order. The right order was opposite. But that's exactly the point. The Torah here also wants to show us, first of all, the good side, the medicine. You build a Mishkan, there is temple, and you raise up your heads. Okay, you sin, but it's okay. You're going on with your life. You do tshuva, and everything is okay. And only then talking about the sin. And here also our Megillah, the same story. Now, you have to read this by order and understand that if it wasn't happening in 2-3 days, everybody could understand. Wow, yes. If you all remember the war, the Gulf War, the same story. If we think about it, we were sitting doing nothing, and the Americans were fighting for us in Iraq. Like it's written, Hashem yilachem lachem, v'atem tacharishon. God is going to fight for you, and you will sit down and do nothing. That's what's happening. But what was happening before? For 70 years, there was a nation that was called Brit HaMoatzot, the Soviet Union. And you have to understand, as long as the Soviet Union was in existence, the Americans couldn't go on war with Iraq because they were allies. But after the Soviet Union collapsed, only then the American could go into Iraq and do what they did. Now, with what weapon were they using? Special missiles, for example, that were developed during the war, the Cold War between them, America, and the Soviet Union. And the whole story of the Soviet Union was 70 years. It's unbelievable when you think about it. In other words, what is God telling us? I prepared everything to save you. So in the beginning, what it was a war between the Soviet Union is coming up. The Communist Party is doing what it's doing, and Then the Americans are fighting against the Soviet Union. There is this Cold War, and then they're developing weapons. And then suddenly, this all beautiful idea, is collapsing, and there is no Soviet Union anymore, and the American can go in and save Am Israel from Iraq. And by the way, why do they save us? Because they love us? It's like we say in the Megillah. לא משנאת המן, לא מאהבת מרדכי, but משנאת המן. Not because they love us, it's because they hate them. And why do they hate them? Because the Iraqis, they wanted to take the oil, and without this petrol, what's going to happen to the world? So then they go in, and we were sitting and doing nothing. So in other words, if we look at the whole story, the same story of the Megillah. God is there, He's with us all the time, but we have to understand it. Sometimes we don't see it. We think, wow, what's happening? What's going to be? And then we see that all the development is bringing us to the point that Am Israel is being saved because of things that happened before, and they look terrible. So also today, we have to take things in consideration, understand that whatever is happening, everything is for the best. Even if it doesn't look so good today. That's the story of the Megillah. That's why this says the special law, the special halacha, you're not allowed to read the Megillah from the end to the beginning. You have to read it from the beginning to the end, and then you see the story, the development, understand that there is a miracle here. And when we're talking about this miracle, we were talking about why do we dress up? And this is also another interesting point. What's happening is, Haman HaRasha, he wants to kill the Jews. Why does he want to kill the Jews? Because there is one Jew that doesn't bow to him, Mordechai Yehudi. And there is another story behind it, but we're not going to go into it because we can talk from here to next year. And he decides he wants to kill this Jew. He wants to kill all of Israel. That's what Purim is all about. But now what he wants to do is to hang his worst enemy, which is Mordechai. So how does it do? What is it? He's building this big tree, big pole, and there he wants to hang who? Who does he want to hang? Mordechai. Who is being hanged there? Himself, eventually. In other words, he's preparing his own hanging tree. Unbelievable. His own hanging pole is being built by him. He's preparing his own death, but there's a lot of other things in it. And look what's happening. He wants to come to tell the king, the Hashverosh, what he wants to do. And it's, he's in the middle of the night. You have to understand this relationship. Like, he's so close to Hashverosh that he allows himself to come in the middle of the night. But what's happening now in the middle of the night? Hashverosh cannot sleep. So he's asking to bring the book to read the memories from the book. And they come to the point that Mordechai, the Jew, he saved him from being killed. He says, whoa, what is being done with this guy? What good have you done with him? So they're telling him nothing. By the way, nothing is, if you're talking about Jewish people, nothing, that's the reward. And this is unbelievable. Through this history we see it. And he says, we have to do something. He says, here's a noise. Who is outside? Haman. Haman is there. Okay, Haman, call him in. He calls Haman in. Haman comes in. And the king is asking him, before what he wants to do there, he wants to ask Ahasuerus to hang Mordechai. And look what's happening now. This is unbelievable. Now, the king is asking, what should we do with the guy that the king wants his favor, wants to show everybody how he appreciates him. He says, wow, I've got a big idea, because Haman is thinking to himself, who would want Ahasuerus to do the good, to raise up, to show everybody that he loves him, appreciates him? Me! That's what he's thinking. So he says to the king, you should take a horse that you were riding on it, the clothes you were wearing, a crown you were wearing, and one of the most important people in the kingdom has to take this guy on a horse through all the streets of Shushan and shout, that's what we do to the guy that the king wants his good, wants to raise him up, what he wants. Now, Ahasuerus is not stupid, and we'll see how it's developing later on. He realizes this guy thinks he's so close to me, and he thinks that he's going to be a king. He wants to be a king. Okay. He says, wow, a great idea. Go and do this to Mordechai Yehudi, to this Jewish Mordechai. Haman cannot believe this. Wow, what's happening here? He was coming in to hang Mordechai, and he's ending up going and taking Mordechai in the middle of the street and shouting to everybody like a slave that this guy on the horse, which is Mordechai, is a favorite of the king. Wow, what a humiliation! Unbelievable. He's being humiliated in the worst way that can be. So he goes, has to do what the king says, and he comes and Mordechai is in mourning because of what was happening. And Haman comes to him, come on, let's address you and put you on the horse of the king, and this the king ordered. Says, 1 minute, what? I'm not going, I'm dirty with a sack. I'm not, I've got long hair and they're not clean. No, I have to wash and cut my hair. And the same morning, Esther Amalka gave an order to close all the bath places in Shushan, and also all the barbers on holiday, on national holiday, they're not allowed to work today. So Haman is going around, sees all the places where he can wash, the wash places, the bath are all shut down. Says, everything is shut down. What do you want me to do? Says, what do you want to do? I don't know. I'm not going like this. So you wash me. So he's taking him, opening his maybe his private bathroom, whatever. And at those rooms, normally it was a public place where you used to do the washing and everything. And he washes him, soaps him, and dries him. And then he says, okay, now we have to cut the hair. He's going around. All the barbers are shut down. There's nobody there. So Mordechai says, no. So you do it. I know. You were a barber once. I'm sure you have your tools. So Haman is ending washing Mordechai, cutting his hair, and now dressing him with the clothes of the king, putting the crown on him. And then he tells Mordechai, get on the horse. So Mordechai says, the horse is high, I cannot get on it. You bend down and I'll walk on you. And he puts his foot on the back of Haman and goes on the horse. Haman all this time is thinking to himself, wow, what should I do? I'm going to be humiliated in the worst day. Suddenly he's got an idea. 1 minute. He sees the sack of Mordechai on the floor. Says, wow, I'm going to wear the sack. And people, when I go through Shushan, they will be sure that the one in the sack is who? Mordechai. And the one with the clothes of the king and the crown is me. So I'm going to be saved. Wow, that's unbelievable. So he's dressing up as Mordechai. And this is, a short pause, this is the reason that we dress up on Purim. One of the reasons, okay? Okay. So they're going on. And he is so happy that he found the solution. And then two things happen. First of all the Jews know that the guy on the horse from far away is Mordechai and not Haman. How do they know this? We say, Shoshanat Yaakov Tza'ala V'Samecha Birotam Yahacha Techelet Mordechai. They were all happy when they see this light blue of Mordechai. What does it mean? Normally we think this is the clothes of the king. But it was the tchelet of the tzitzit. They saw the tzitzit. So this is why he called Mordechai Yehudi. What, he was the only Jew in Shushan? Of course not. There were a lot of Jews. But he was one who's standing on this thing that he is Jewish. And he doesn't care what other people say. He's not bowing to Haman. And he's wearing that now with the clothes of the king, with the crown. And he's got the tzitzis on top of this. So all the Jews know this is Mordechai. And the guy there is Haman. Doesn't help him. But that's not the end of this. That's, by the way, also another interesting thing. Why is the Tchelet Mordechai? Another question and answer. Now let's go on. They're going on. They're coming to the street of the wealthy people of Shushan, which there is also the house of Haman. They have 4 or 5 floors. Who knows? Anyway, at the same time, the daughter of Haman hears the noise, and she looks down from the porch, and she sees this parade coming in, and what she sees is Mordechai with the sack, leading a horse of the king with a guy on top of it. She said, that's my father Haman. He's on the horse, and Mordechai is being humiliated, and he's leading the way. So she said, I'm going to do another thing to make it even worse. What is she doing? She goes to the toilet and takes all the dirty things there, fills up a bucket, and stands on the porch, and she's waiting for the parade to come. And the minute she sees Mordechai right underneath, she takes this bucket and poof, throws it on. Haman raises up his hand to see who threw this dirty thing from his house on him. His daughter sees and realizes that it's not Mordechai, it's her father. From panic, she falls down and died. And Haman now is full with dirt. And he's finishing this, and he's rushing home. And this Avel v'chafui rosh. He was in mourning because of what happened. And chafui, what's chafui rosh? His head was full with ichsa. Now he wants to go home and wash, because he is invited to the feast with Esther Amalka and the king. But this is already late. And what's happening is that the servants of the king come, you have to come. And they take him as he is, with all his dirt on him, to the feast. Now when you come to the feast, the smell is unbelievable. This is wow. Okay. So the king sits with the queen and says, what's the problem? He says, this Haman is a Rasha and thing. So the king goes out. Why is he going out? He couldn't stand the smell. He was stinking, this Haman. So he goes out. And he's standing there outside. And then he sees another thing, that people are taking out his trees. He says that God did something there. But we leave it. We don't talk about it. Okay, well, why is he going out? Because of the smell. He comes down, and this dirty Ichsa man, Haman, that he remembers he wants to be a king, he is lying on the bed with the queen, Esther. He's asking for his life. But for the Achashverosh, it's a different picture. And says, what's going on here? And suddenly Charbona, who says, why do you remember Charbona Zachor Latov? Charbona gets up and says, yes, and see, there is a tree there that he prepared to kill, to hang Mordechai that talked good on you, that saved your life. He says, what? Hanging on him. It's unbelievable. Why is Charbona suddenly saying what he's saying? What didn't he say it before? And how does he know about the tree, about this pole outside the Chatzer of Haman? How does he know about it? He was a part of the plan. And now he realizes, if he's not speaking, what's going to happen? He is going to be hanged together with his friend Haman on the tree. Why? Because he was a part of the plot to hang the one that the king loves. And Esther is his daughter. Wow, what's going to be here? So he quickly jumps, yes, and he's this task, before Haman will open his mouth and says, you are a part of it. Hanging. So it says, and also Charbona is remembered for the good. So here we saw a few interesting things, episode of the Megillah. Maybe a little humoristic look, but a lot of truth behind it. And hopefully we'll understand to see that God is with us all the time. And He's leading us in a good way to a good place. And even if sometimes on the way it looks hard and not so easy, do believe that everything is for the best. And of course there's a lot to talk about the Megillah, more and more about the beautiful things, that the insights that we have in it. And remember another thing, I have to say this. Why did all this happen? Nehenu miseudato shel oto rasha. It all happened, remember, in the feast that the Jews were sitting and enjoying the meal, enjoying the feast of Achashverosh. So what? First of all, you have to understand everything was kosher. The Mashgiach was Mordechai himself. But the problem was, in this same feast, they were using the tools from the temple. And the Achashverosh was wearing the clothes of the Kohen Gadol. And nevertheless, think about this. He is inviting the queen to come in what way? Naked. So what do you think was going on there? So the Jews sit there and enjoy. You know what? If you have to go to the feast, go. Eat and go. But enjoying it? This is unbelievable. How can you sit and enjoy a thing like this? You cannot live in two worlds. And this we have to understand. We cannot enjoy corruption. We cannot enjoy things that are against the Torah. Sometimes we do things, but enjoying it and then like sitting there and enjoying what's going on, this is impossible. It's like I remember years ago, I'm talking about it, I told it to you. I was invited to a bar mitzvah. And we're sitting on the table, and suddenly music, ta-ta-tam, ta-ta-tam, and the bar mitzvah kid is being held on a pirion, on a stand, with like people dressed like slaves, talking about Purim, yes? But what was amazing is in front of him, there were 2 or 3 Bali dancers, not Bali, Rakdaniot better, like dancers, half naked. This is a bar mitzvah. This is how you say bar mitzvah. There was a guy on the table. When he saw this, he got up and went. And I, with my sins, unfortunately at that time, I stayed there, enjoying the meal. And this is exactly, every time I come to the Megillah, I remember this. I should have walked away and not stay in a place like this that they celebrating a mitzvah in the, let's say, in the worst way they couldn't send it. You couldn't have it. But that's the story. We should know and understand and realize the difference between us and them. The difference between going in the way of the Torah and understanding that even if sometimes there are obstacles, look at it as a mission that we have to go through. And the minute we go through it, Be'ezrat Hashem, the Geulah will come. So with everything going around, there is also, everything is a part of the story. That's Megilat Esther. That's why we have to read from beginning to end, to understand and realize that God is leading us to the good place. And even, if on the way it looks to us terrible, do remember, it's for the best. Walk with it, and don't let nobody influence you to go in the wrong way. And even if you are in this place or there, don't enjoy what you're not allowed to do. You can sometimes understand that there is a big difference if you have to do something or you do something, but when you do it with all your heart, take your joy to the good side, to the side of Esther, to the side of Mordechai. Stand against all the odds. Wear the tzitzis. Be proud that you are Jewish. Be'ezrat Hashem, a froiliche Purim to everybody.